What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with this top 15 all-time centers in pro basketball history. Just to do a brief recap. Number 15, Nikola Jokic. Number 14, Robert Parrish. Number 13, Bob McAdoo. Number 12, Wes Unseld. Number 11, Nate Thurman. Number 10, Patrick Ewing. Number 9, Artis Gilmore. Number 8, George Mikan. Number 7, David Robinson. Number 6, Moses Malone. Number 5, Shaquille O'Neal. Number 4, Akeem Olajuwon. And number 3, Bill Russell. At number 2, I have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, in the past, I had Kareem number 1. So why the change to number 2? I think with me, part of it was I felt a little influence to put him number 1. There was growing wilt criticisms at the time. He only won 2 championships. People were making some arguments that at the time I thought were concrete arguments. And even today, I mean, if someone thinks that Kareem's the greatest center, or hell, the greatest player, I don't have a problem with that. But I just think that when it comes to sheer dominance and impact, Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest player and greatest center we've ever seen. Now, Kareem definitely has a case. Now, I could talk about his collegiate career and his prep career, but this is about his pro career. But when you look at his career, he played 20 years in the NBA, scored 38,387 points, which at least for one more game for the Lakers is still the all-time leading point total, but soon he'll be number 2. But for so long, for 30, almost 39 years, this man's been the all-time leading scorer. He pulled down 17,440 rebounds, which is third all-time in pro basketball history. He had over 5,000 career assists, which is a stunning total for a center, although that is a longevity total, but still. Matter of fact, let's look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Let's look at some of his numbers. Kareem, who will be in attendance when LeBron breaks his scoring record, Kareem played in 1,560 career games, number 2 all time, behind only Robert Parrish. He averaged 24.6 points per game, 11.2 rebounds, and 3.6 assists per contest. Kareem's efficient skyhook, the most unstoppable weapon in the history of the NBA, was one of the main reasons why he was able to put up those 38,387 points. And he shot 55.9% from the field for his career. He led the league in field goal percentage once, the 1976-77 season. He shot a respectable 72.1% from the foul line. And he had a PR rating of 24.6 and total win share total of 273.4, which I believe is still number 1. I gotta look at that right quick. It's either number 1 or number 2 at this point. But anyway, when you look at Kareem's prime years, which to me is from 1969, hell, you could argue until maybe 1986, or his best years. Look at his per game averages. It goes up to 26.4 points per game, 12.1 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, 2.9 blocks. And there's something about the blocks that people have to remember. The first 4 years of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career, formerly Lou Alcindor, blocks were not counted. So the 3,189 career blocks that he's credited with, if the first few seasons that he played were included or counted, then he would have had over 4,000 career blocks instead of 3,189. But anyway, 56.2% shooting from the floor and 72% from the foul line. But his absolute prime years, as far as playing basketball, were 1969 to probably 1980. Those were his absolute prime years. And if you look at his numbers then, they're just sick. 28.3 points per game, 14.4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.2 steals, 3.5 blocks, 55.5% shooting from the floor, 71% from the foul line. Just incredible overall numbers. As far as his career is concerned, he led the league in field goals made 5 different times, field goal attempts once, and he led the league in defensive rebounding twice, and total rebounds twice. And he led the league in blocks 1, 2, 3 different times. And he won 2 scoring titles during his career. 1970-71 when he was, 1970-71 when he was a member of the Milwaukee Bucks and when he was known as Lou Alcindor. And in the very next year, he had changed the name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, converting fully to Islam, and he averaged, I think, 34.8 points per game that season. Check out his resume. Let's go to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's resume. And 6-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 1971 and 1985. He's still the oldest Finals MVP of all time. A record 6 league MVPs, 1970-71, 71-72, 73-74, 75-76, 76-77, and 1979-1980. He's tied with LeBron James for most All-Star selections at 19, 10 times All-NBA first team, 5 times All-NBA second team, 5 times NBA All-Defensive first team, 6 times NBA All-Defensive second team, 1969-1970 Rookie of the Year. He was on the rookie team, first team in 1969-70. As I said before, 2-time scoring champion. And when I think about it, there's only a handful of players that have won a scoring title and a championship in the same year. I think they're George Mikan, then of course Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, who did it 6 different times, Shaquille O'Neal, and that he may be the last guy to do it. He may be the last guy to do it because Curry led the league in scoring in 2016, but they came up short. But he may be the last one to do it. I might be forgetting somebody. But anyway, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar led the league in rebounding 1975-76. 4 times he led the NBA in blocks that he was credited for, but the first 4 years he played, it didn't count blocks. He was on the NBA anniversary team as far as 35th, 50th, and 75th. His number 33 retired by both the Celtics, by the Bucks and the Lakers. And, look, I don't really talk about college when I'm talking about these players or high school. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is arguably the most dominant high school player we've ever seen. He is generally considered the most dominant and greatest collegiate basketball player we've ever seen. So, he's played the most minutes of all time. And 57,000, I think, 57,446. He holds the record for most field goals made, 15,837. Most field goal attempts, though I think by next year, LeBron's going to pass him in that category, 28,307. He's an all-time leader in career wins. And this guy was a phenomenal player, man. I mean, he turned around the Milwaukee Bucks, who were that was a new franchise. They were a new team, and for them to go from a 3-year span from being a terrible team that only won like 21 games or 26 games or something like that to being an NBA champion in 3 years is remarkable. He made the Milwaukee Bucks relevant. He still is, in my opinion, the greatest Buck to ever play. Although Giannis is coming, but I think you gotta give him the edge because, look, he went to 2 NBA Finals to Giannis's 1. As a Milwaukee Buck, he won 3 league MVPs to Giannis's 2. And he averaged over 30 points a game as a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, averaged 14 rebounds a game as a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, while I think Giannis's averages are around 22 points and more like 9 rebounds. But still, Kareem's that dude, man. Kareem's that dude. A lot of people like to say, well, Kareem didn't win until he played with Oscar, or he didn't win until he played with Magic. And while that's true, can you really name another player, another big, that has won without talent around him? I mean, think about it. People like to downplay the talent that was around Hakeem Olajuwon, but he didn't start winning until he started playing with guys like Vernon Maxwell or Robert Horry or Sam Cassell, who was a Hall of Fame caliber point guard. He didn't start winning until we put him on the same team with Mario Elie and Kenny Smith. Later on, Clyde Drexler, Otis Thorpe, who was an all-star in 92. So he had talent on that team. So every guy, every player, no one great player can beat another good team without having some pieces around him. You know what I'm saying? So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he wasn't the biggest guy, 7'2". When he first came league, 225. Had the big sideburns, the afro. Time, by the mid-1970s, began to ebb away at that afro. Then he started having to get rid of the sideburns, and he started wearing the goggles because, because the 70s were a lot physical, he kept getting injured in the eye, fingers, and things like that. So he took to wearing goggles. Then eventually, as he went bald, he just went bald. That's how you did it back then, man. You don't fuck around with it. Just take care of the problem by shaving your damn head. A lot of people give Michael Jordan credit for that, but Kareem did it before Mike. Shaved his goddamn head. But I just think of a guy in Kareem that was able to play for so long in a more physical era, in an era that had so many Hall of Fame or damn near Hall of Fame worthy players. Whether you're talking about Wilt Chamberlain at the tail end of his career, or whether you're talking about Bob Lanier, or whether you're talking about Willis Reed, or you're talking about big men like Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld, whether you're talking about Zelmo Beatty, whether you're talking about Bob McAdoo, whether you're talking about Artis Gilmore, who gave Kareem fits, Moses Malone, who gave him fits, whether you're talking about toward the 80s, Patrick Ewing and whether you're talking about Joe Carroll, Sam Lacey, Brad Daugherty, Ralph Sampson, Keem Olajuwon. I'm named probably 10 times as many centers as today that are legit in a league that only had maybe 17 to 23 teams at the time. And I know I'm not naming every great center or great or good center. Bill Laimbeer, Swin Nader, Michael Cage. Shit, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Jack Sigma. But the point is, there were a lot of good big men back then when he played, man. And he was Bill Walton is another one. All these guys is popping in my head, man. Tom Burrowinkle. But he was the cream of the crop. And just want to give him praise, man. One of the greatest big men ever, the greatest weapon ever, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for at least one or two more games, the all-time leading scorer. And then, of course, off the court, he did other shit. He was in Game of Death with Bruce Lee. He showed his comedy chops in the movie Airplane. Of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a very vocal opponent of the Vietnam War and racism, and he spoke out about a lot of different things that he did not care for. And this, of course, led to him not being particularly well liked by the media. And this is partially why he never got a coaching gig after he retired, and why up until recently the media didn't have much use for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But anyway, shout out to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the great players of all time.